Tony, it's great to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm well, Mark. Great to see you too. How have you been?
Great, great. And I'm admiring the forest that you're in. Where is that?
I think this is actually the redwood forest in Northern California,
Cool.
but I'm actually in Austin, Texas today, so I'm not I'm not actually there, I guess.
Well, the wonders of technology and everything. And
Absolutely.
Austin, Texas is not a bad place to be either. Sixth Street is one of the more fun places to hang out at. So
That's right.
hey, welcome to our Leaders Who Care series. It was inevitable that you would be on this series because getting to know you more and more over the last couple of years, you are certainly one of those leaders who cares. And I think a great way to start is if you can briefly introduce yourself, a little bit about you, family, where you're from, type of thing, and then we'll chat.
Fantastic, and thanks for having me. I'm Tony DiMatteo. I'm the CEO of Lottery.com as well as WinTogether.org, which is our new charitable sweepstakes platform. Originally from Denver, Colorado, so sort of grew up watching the Broncos play, and ended up in California for a while in Silicon Valley. I tried a few startups, some worked, some didn't. Eventually founded Lottery.com, and then we moved the whole company out to Austin about 2.5 years ago, and so we've been here ever since.
Yeah, good house value increases over there, huh?
Yeah, it goes up almost every day. There's like 100 people a day that move to Austin, something crazy like that.
Holy cow! Most
Yeah.
sometimes is South by Southwest over there, and going down Sixth Street. It's a great place. What about family wise? Where's family? What does
Oh,
family?
what's that?
What's family look like, and where are they?
Oh yeah, I have a beautiful wife and a 6-year-old son who's the light of my life, and my mom and my sisters live up in Salem, Oregon, so just about a half hour south of Portland, and they love it there, and I get up there whenever I can.
Yeah, it's beautiful there too. No, that's great. So, share with I like I talk about Simon Sinek a lot. I've always liked Simon Sinek and his why, but I like to ask that differently. So before we go into further some of the great stuff you're doing, well, first of all, I remember when I first heard of you, first met you in Fifth Element. I remember early on when you raised like 1 something million in Puerto Rico, doing a concert. And from what I recall, you organized a conference the concert in about 6.5 minutes or something. It was so quick you were able to do that. With respect to that, I want you to tell me, why do you do what you do?
No, that's a good question. Right in Puerto Rico, I'll say it wasn't as successful as that we had hoped it could have been, but we did it in, I think, 3 weeks, and it started by, we were actually just sort of sponsoring a crypto conference down in Puerto Rico, and then sort of when we got there, we realized just how bad it was, and the need of the Puerto Rican people there. And so my co-founder actually got the idea of like, let's put on a sort of a completely free concert, actually bus in a bunch of people for free from all over the island. And so they all got to see with an incredible lineup, like the Roots were there. I mean, just an insane lineup. And we had no experience putting on a concert at all. We didn't even know where to start, but in about 3 weeks, we got really A-list talent to fly in, come do this charitable concert, to help raise money, and just also, more importantly, just help raise awareness of what was actually happening in Puerto Rico, and that, is that we have just not taken care of them and given them the help they need after the hurricanes. So that's where it came from. As far as why we did it is, I sort of just have a core belief of, if you can help someone and you're in the position to help someone, it's sort of your obligation to do that. And I don't know where that comes from. There's nothing more behind it. I feel like that's what you're supposed to do. And so that's why we did it. And that sort of goes, hand in hand with how we do everything, is we look out for everybody. And that in our opinion, in my opinion, that's the way that we can become more successful, is by helping other people be successful or happy and healthy, etc. That just sort of, lifts all boats, and that's how we win. So,
true definition of leader who cares. And the one who cares is what we try to show on this, is the one that usually does best, both for business, etc. So along those lines, it's actually taken decades for corporates to actually realize that aligning themselves with social or environmental impact actually is good for their business as well. Not to mention they end up attracting the best people who only want to work for leaders who care, if you will. So you seem to have had it from the beginning where, as I guess I would put it, you were engaged in currency. Let's put it that way. You were engaged in
Sure.
currency, be it dollars or crypto, gaming, tech ventures, speaking about it all over the place, I remember. And it's in a thread of strategic ways to make things better for people, basically, kind of what you just
Yeah.
described. So share with us the vision of lottery.com initially, and then we'll get into the launch of Win Together and OmniWins and all that.
Absolutely. So lottery.com, the vision for that is very specifically is we just help people play the lottery from their phones, right? In a responsible way, which is in a funny way, the lottery industry has just been very slow to move to the digital world. And so, when we started, everybody just sort of thought that what we were going to do is impossible. You can't do that, is because it hadn't been done in the US. The lotteries won't allow it. The states won't allow it. There's all these sort of roadblocks in front of you. And we sort of took the approach of like, well, and it's funny, if you go back, I remember being on stage at the launch festival in 2015, where I'm sort of pitching the idea for the first time on stage to about 3,000 angel investors. And at the end of it, I say, like, et cetera, like, this is how we can win together. And so Win Together is actually from day one of the company. And we've made that sort of our North Star of like, how do we, the way for us to be successful is by finding a way for us for all stakeholders and whatever it is that we're doing to win. And that includes our team, obviously, our investors, our everybody that's associated with us. But that also includes sort of how do we make friends with people or companies that potentially could be our enemies. And Abraham Lincoln, to paraphrase him, he said, "Look, if I make my enemy my friend, have I not destroyed my enemy?" Like that's how we do it. And so that's how we can win together. It's just by aligning all the interests of everybody that you have to deal with, internally and externally to win. And so the vision for lottery.com is to be the sort of Amazon of lottery. That's the easiest way for me to say it, meaning it's just a global marketplace for all of these games of chance, sovereign lotteries, states and countries who have been really severely impacted by the coronavirus as well. So in most countries, it's still, you walk in with paper money and you walk out with a paper ticket. And obviously once the quarantines hit, that all went away. And so the revenues went down to almost nothing. And you can imagine that, whenever you buy a lottery ticket in most places, a big portion of that goes to the education budget in the state that you're in. And so those budgets had a, huge loss, when the quarantine hit. And so, the silver lining, at least for us, is that now the states and countries are much more receptive to us, coming in and helping them, just transfer their games onto our digital platform. And so that's lottery, I guess. But our vision is just to be we really are a social good company, and we just find ways to do impossible things where everybody ends up successful.
Well, who was it that said, the impossible, how does it go? The impossible changes to possible when you do it, or something like that?
Yeah, well, everything's impossible until somebody does it, right? and then it's done, and now everybody believes it. So I've always said we are an impossible company that really shouldn't probably exist, but we've sort of found a way to do it, and we've made it possible. So
well, it's there's a lot of conversation now about the future of work, if you will, and how things sped along because of COVID. I mean, they obviously, like you just said, sped along for you too. And you make a great point. One of the selling points of lottery was to help education. And I hadn't actually even thought of that. The funds lost not just from government, but by lottery not getting what they should usually be getting. I guess education has been hit really hard too, you say, right?
Right. That's right. Absolutely.
Wow. So Win Together, describe it a little bit more. Do you select certain charities? How does that work? Tell everybody how it works. I know it just launched today or yesterday, whatever. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's wintogether.org. It's a couple days old now. We just launched a few days ago, and the idea was, by sort of being lottery.com, obviously, when you buy a ticket, it goes to a good cause in your state, which is, again, typically the education budget. But we wanted to have a platform that could be very specific and targeted to help, specific causes, whether it's the environment or it's COVID related or it's really any good cause, where we can do very direct impact, and that we can sort of measure that over time and make sure that good things are being done with whatever funds that we raise. Because the same thing is true as you can look at lotteries as just a crowdfunding mechanism, right? And with a prize attached to it. That's really what a lottery is, right? You're crowdfunding education, and somebody gets to win a very cool prize, which is usually a lot of money. And so Win Together is the same thing, but it's you're crowdfunding for a cause or for a charity or for whatever it is that you're going to do, and then there's a prize attached to that as well. And so we just launched with our inaugural campaign, which is with the Arbor Day Foundation, which is they've been around forever. They've planted tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of trees over that time, and everybody loves trees. It's such a great cause to launch with because there's nobody who doesn't like trees, and so and we're giving away a Cybertruck, and so by partnering with the Arbor Day Foundation is their Time for Trees initiative. The goal is to plant 100 million trees, and the way that we do that is we're just incentivizing people to give to a cause that they already care about and they already like, and by attaching a prize to that. And so now you have a chance to win a Tesla Cybertruck, which is a very green and very cool vehicle that I think a lot of people want, and it benefits us obviously, but it also benefits Arbor Day as they get not just more donations, but it is they're potentially reaching a brand new demographic of donors that they wouldn't have before to build their community. And so over time, that community can become more and more engaged. And that's really the model is, we look for really great causes that are, I'll say, financially transparent on, where those dollars go, and also financially, prudent and efficient, so that, a lot of the money, whenever you're donating $1, you want to know that that's actually going somewhere and doing some type of good. And if you don't, then you run into these problems of like donor fatigue, where people just they stop. If they don't see what's actually happening with their donated dollar, they stop giving. And so we want to combat that.
Yeah, it is the epitome of the fifth element omni-win, if you will, about the corporate brand, let's say Tesla in this case, the Arbor Day, education, it's business, community, people. What were they missing when you first showed it to them? What was so hard to understand?
Oh no, I think they got it right away. I think Arbor Day has actually been a phenomenal partner, and obviously Fifth Element has been phenomenal, and I think we've grown together in such a great way. Really, if you want to talk about a relationship and winning together, between us and Fifth Element has been phenomenal over the years, and we've matured together, I think, quite a bit. Arbor Day they got it right away, and they realized the power of sort of just adding that incentive to motivate people and to reach new people, where their demographic skews a little bit older of their sort of core donor base. We're now reaching a completely new donor base, of people who maybe they obviously they like trees and they don't maybe know about Arbor Day, but we sort of, the hook might just be that here's the Cybertruck, and to get that, let's take a look at this cause, and that you want to be part of that cause, and so donate and be part of the community.
So I notice, is the next one Parkinson's?
I think the next one's going to be Parkinson's, and we're giving away a DeLorean time machine. It's actually my personal DeLorean time machine. It's in my garage, about 10 feet below me right now, and I've always been a Back to the Future fanatic, and I love it. And so for whatever reason, I ended up with a DeLorean time machine with working time circuits and the whole thing, all the lights, all the everything. I think that'll be next, and then we have a great pipeline of other causes, really big nonprofits that we're working with, and we want to also. So I'll say, our vision with Win Together is to go wide and to expose really good causes to people that they've never seen before, but we also want to be local, and so I think the next iteration of all of our sort of technological tools are going to allow very small charities that just that they have a website and people go to them, is to let them run these types of gamified sweepstakes through our platform, and just encourage their own donors to give either a little bit more or a little bit more often, with the incentive of winning some type of prize. And so from that perspective, like, I think we can just massively just increase the amount of overall donations everywhere, basically.
So an ABC company could come in potentially and want to get employee engagement going and community going, and put something like that together. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. All we sort of need to figure out in that mix is what is the cause? Is it a good cause? And what is the prize going to be? And that can take a lot of different forms, but it's a way to incentivize people to do something. And in some cases, it might not even be a donation. It might just be, go actually plant a tree, or go clean up some litter, or go, clean up a beach, or whatever those things are. There's a lot of ways that we can just incentivize people to do things, right? Whether it's a donation or an actual action.
Yeah, it's cool. It's I would start with, I said, I talk about this a lot because my grandparents were influencers in my life, and they were from Kiev, and they used to say with a Russian accent, as long as you have your health, that's the most important thing, is what they would tell me.
Yeah.
And then they would say education, but the health was key. And it wasn't any branding about it from them or slogan. It was for real. And so we've got COVID. We've got technology still moving super fast. We've got the tipping point finally for justice, racial justice, social justice, not to mention wildfires and God knows what. Mother Nature is not a happy camper, bottom line. And,
right.
And with the wildfires of the trees, right, like behind you. And so talking about Arbor Day being a perfect time on top of that. Do you see, I'd like to just get your thoughts on, you talked about how, the education was hit in general. Do you see an awakening, if you will, of people, especially business leaders, of what's really important, and like you said, locally, even especially what's really important in our lives, and how do we address it?
Yeah, well, I think every generation becomes more aware, and I'll say awakened, of the world around them, the people around them that are not like them, and what their struggles might be. And it's interesting. It's in a lot of ways, it's a matter of perspective. Is I think for a long time, people have just they've only had their own perspective, and they've never had to think of other people's perspectives of what their challenges are. And so I've seen just over my short lifetime that we are increasingly marching towards more awareness and a larger perspective of what everybody has to deal with. And that's again where it comes of who knows what's going to come next, right? Like we may have another pandemic. We may not, there will be more and more issues that we have to deal with, and things that we've never even considered, because nobody saw the pandemic coming, right? But now here we are. So I think what I'm seeing is that, people are a little bit less selfish and thinking more about other people, and I hope, and I do believe that people will realize that the best way for them to be successful in whatever they're doing, business-wise or personally, is to help other people be well. And if you can help other people, that sort of just makes everybody better. And as a society, we want more educated and healthy people, because that helps us all move along. And it helps us when we do have a pandemic, or we do have some sort of black swan event that we would never anticipate. It makes us stronger as a society and as a world. And so I think that is something just personally, completely outside of business, but then even inside of business. I don't believe that it's a sustainable business model going forward to just sort of be the old corporate way of just not caring about employees and just, putting profits above everything else. And that's all that matters, because people are at a point where they just won't work for you. If that's the type of company you are, they don't want to be associated with that. They would rather not work, or go work, a less exciting job for a company that does care. And what I've found is leaders who care attract people who care, and that's what you want. You want people who care on your team. And if you can get a big group of people together who just care about whatever it is that you're doing, like, you can move mountains. So that's what I think.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant the way you articulated. I was on a broadcast recently, and where they invited me on because of Leaders Who Care, and they asked me, well, can you describe what you think an intelligent follower is? And I'd never really heard intelligent follower before. I hear followers, but I never really heard intelligent follower. And it got to this discussion about a lot of what you're saying. It's about an intelligent, someone who a person who really cares, obviously would like to work with someone else who cares. But they also said, it's about knowing where you're going, and it reminded me of my elementary school in math. We knew we were good at math, and we knew the answer, but you never gave us the full grades because we didn't show our work. Remember that stuff?
Yeah.
And it was long story short, I don't even know if she knew what she was teaching us, but she was teaching us that if you show your work, people will buy in and jump on with you because they see what's going on, what your thought process is. They see you do care. They see not that this is the answer, follow me because I said so type of thing.
That's right.
And it sounds like that's a little bit like the OmniWin you're showing is it's not about just making money, but you can make money. That's not a bad thing. And and that
Yeah.
money can be used very well, but it's good for community too. Um, it's amazing. So you kind of segue me there into what do you think the role of business leaders who care is per se when it comes to the well-being of their talent? And by the way, their talent is the community because you don't just
Yeah.
separate the two. There's financial well-being, there's physical well-being, there's mental well-being, there's even spiritual well-being, part of mental. What do you think the role is of business leaders to ensure that happens and they realize that it is good for business and community?
Yeah, well, it's very important, right? And just to echo something you just said is, the difference between I think a boss and a leader is a bosses, right? They're like a dictator. They literally dictate. They tell you what to do and they expect you to do that, and that's about it.
Right.
Where leaders say, they're pointing at you, right? And where leaders say, like I'm gonna go climb this mountain, or I'm gonna go take that hill, and this is why I want to do it. And then they come to the team and say, how do we all think we're going to do that, right? That's what a leader is. That's not a boss. And so I would never want to be a boss, right? I hope that I would never be seen as a leader, if anything. um, but as far as the well-being, it's very important. Like everybody's well-being is incredibly important, and you have to do the best that you can as a leader, whatever that means. And it's we get into there's a lot of different issues and what that actually means, right? It's understanding. I think it really sort of starts with like a mental and emotional health, because people could be perfectly physically healthy and still have a lot of issues that they have to deal with. But ultimately, as you want the people who care, the people that obviously perform, you have to still have that as a company. But it's like that. We've been always incredibly flexible. Like a lot of people from our team have worked from home for years, so that's where they're most comfortable. That's where they're most productive, and it's sort of not putting in these rigid requirements of you have to come in at this time and you have to punch in and punch out, and you have to do these specific things, because people are different and they come from all over and from different backgrounds, and if you can find a way to accommodate them to make the most out of them, then they're happier and you're happier because you're getting a better result as an employer or a team leader.
Yeah, that's why I tie it back into win together then, because I found it's like a sports coach who stands up for their player. That player will do everything for that sports coach, no matter what. And
That's right.
so if you're working in an environment where people care and you're performing, because you also care to perform, then I'm thinking win together is an opportunity to care together, if you will, and to
Yeah,
impact your community, etc. So it truly is
absolutely.
an omni-win in that respect. And I can see, you see it a lot of times where, companies, employees get together on something like Win Together to make an impact in their community. So tell us
Absolutely.
then, or tell the audience then, where they go if they want more information, how they find out about it, and who would they talk to if they have ideas? How does that all work?
Sure. Well, first, if you go to wintogether.org, the Team Trees is our premier campaign. And again, it's just to help us, raise money to plant 100 million trees, and get a chance to win a Cybertruck, which is also cool. But also, you can always email me. I'm Tony at wintogether.org, TONY. So it's easy to find me, and I'll reply as soon as I can. So, and I'd love to talk to anybody. I'll say we're looking for sort of really amazing causes, also corporate partners, who may want to sort of, expand their brand by also associating with a great cause, and we can sort of match a great brand and a great cause. Both, if we can have a brand that cares and a cause that cares, we can put them together. And obviously, just anything, please reach out. I'm happy to talk to you.
And when you do reach out, just put, I saw you on Fifth Element's Leaders Who Care, and he'll give you some kind of special deal.
Absolutely. Fair enough.
Hey, one last quick question.
Sure.
I pretend I'm a high school graduate or college graduate. It's been a hell of a year. I don't even know. My girlfriend's pissed off at me because we couldn't go to prom. The whole the whole bit, and economies here, there, and everywhere. What would you, if I come up to you and say, what do I do next? I don't even know what to do. What would you tell me?
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. So, I remember watching there's an interview with Steve Martin, the comedian, you know, that we all know, right? And of all the sort of amazing quotes, you wouldn't maybe expect it from him. But he gets the question all the time: how do you make it in Hollywood, right? And people expect an answer like, you know, you have to get an agent, or you have to know somebody, or you have to be family with the famous director, or something like that. And his advice to everybody is always, be so good they can't ignore you, and that's it, right? And so it doesn't really matter where you start, whether you're, you know, cleaning out gutters, or you're punching a clock, you're doing anything. Is just be the absolute best that you possibly can where you are now, and that leads to advancement. If you're too big for the place you are now, by just being so good at it, somebody will recognize that, and other opportunities will come to you, whether it's inside the existing company or another company. It's just be the absolute best that you can every single day, and things tend to work out. I don't know why it works that way, but it does work that way. And I've seen it a million times. So I would just say, be so good that nobody can ignore you. And that's it.
It's actually brilliant, because good can have 2 points there. Be so good in what you're doing, and be so good.
That's right. That's right. They're both true.
Super cool. Tony, we you know, hey, we at Fifth Element love what you're doing. We're super happy to be involved in it. And congrats, man. Win Together is going to be fantastic. Everybody contact Tony, you know, as soon as you see this, and we'll make some great things happen. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, we couldn't have a Leadership Care series without you on it. So now it's done.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
Take care.